welcome everybody that is here in the audience. Welcome Dom, welcome Thoralf. We have been collecting some questions from you guys and we want to answer them all here today. So yeah, Dom, should we kick off with a general update or should we head straight into the questions?
No, maybe I can just give a quick hello to everyone. Hey everyone, great to see all of you here. I guess instead of a YouTube show, we can try it on Twitter and see how good X has improved their Twitter spaces. No, but I think it's really great to have all of you here. I think also the market has been quite challenging, and I think this is also what I see on crypto Twitter a lot, where many of them are really comparing this to some of the most challenging markets because people are kind of waiting for alt season, and at the same time, it's not really coming, and there's all this global macro impact that is introducing so much volatility and so much uncertainty in the markets, which has made this environment quite challenging, I would say, right? Because this uncertainty obviously introduces fear, introduces uncertainty, right? And so I think this is why I think it's very important that we just focus on what we can do, what is within our control, and everything around that really has to do with rebased and getting that to mainnet as quickly as possible, building out the ecosystem, and pushing IOTA forward. Because ultimately, all of these temporary price swings, they're temporary, right? So we really believe in the long term of what we are building here with IOTA. We really believe in the long term of this entire industry. And so I personally really think that what has been happening over the last couple of weeks, where we've seen this meme coin washout, right, or this implosion in the meme coin market, where this sort of PvP game has sort of seen a drastic end. I'm not sure if many of you have followed the whole Libra drama, but I really think that has led to the implosion in the meme coin market. And then in turn, I also really believe that this will now actually bring a lot more excitement and a lot more hope to projects that have strong fundamentals and that are focused on real value creation. So I do think that the market is entering a new cycle with new narratives and new positioning, where I think we with IOTA are in a really great spot. And so really excited to talk about that today. Other than that, let's go through the questions. Jonathan.
Awesome. Yeah. Very few of them are actually meme themed, so I think we are right on the topic here. Starting off with Otti IOTA, and he is asking what new features are planned for the IOTA smart contract platform.
Maybe Thoralf, so take this one.
Hello. Yeah, sure. I can tell a few things. So
maybe you also want to introduce yourself, by the way. I think it would be really great to hear more about your story as well, because you've been with us so long and you have a really great story.
Yeah, it's been a few years already. I started actually programming because of IOTA, and it was 2017. And yeah, back then we we did a lot of things to get the network down, basically. But now I went to the productive side of things and started doing more useful things. And over the time the network evolved a lot, and now with Rebase we have a big update again with especially Move, which is really great. Like if you're a programmer and want to write smart contracts, I think it's the best thing out there to use Move.
Yep.
It's also similar to Rust, so if you are a Rust developer, then that's even better. But also for others, I think it's still rather easy to understand, and we have many examples for this.
Yep.
And I'm part of the DevTools team in the smart contracts platform part. I'm writing Rust code and also some Move code. And for the new features, there are different kind of features we have. We have some for the protocol itself. So we already made some changes to the staking and the fees. And we have also new protocol versions coming up with more changes. For example, for the fees, we have the shared objects in the network. And then we have some local fee market ideas. So if many transactions only touch the shared object, then only these transactions will pay a higher fee. and not the whole network, because if someone is sending a transaction that's completely unrelated, then isn't really fair that he would also pay more. So this one of the things related to fees, where we have some ideas how to change it, and some are actually in progress already. Then we also want to do IOTA names, so a name service. So you can have your name.iota or whatever you want, and then you don't have to remember the long address. And this would be a part of a smart contract already implemented in Move. And basically built on top and not part of the protocol itself. And we have also many other improvements to the node itself, just to have it run more stable, and also the indexer and RPC endpoints. So adding new indexers for backup solutions in the long term, and such things.
I think one more thing, all of it is really great. I think one more thing to highlight is really like what we've been working on the identity side of things, right? Like digital identity, and how we're also like starting to integrate that more into the protocol, like everything related to chain abstraction. I think that's really one of the areas where I'm most excited about how we can really move that forward to really take away a lot of this complexity of using blockchains, and really simplifying that a lot. I think many of you probably also saw the sponsored transactions release, like the IOTA gas station. I think this is also one of those new key innovations that we want to bring to the market, because one of the biggest pain points of using blockchains is actually having to have the native token. Because unless, like, if you have the native token, like if you're an IOTA holder, I think it's all amazing, it all works really well. But if you're coming from another ecosystem, and then you actually need to figure out how to buy and store the native token, how to get the native token from an exchange to their ledger and stuff like that, it can be a huge hassle, right? And I think many of us probably had this situation when we went a multi-chain in other networks and other ecosystems. You transferred some stable coins across the bridge, and then you didn't have the native token. And then it was like a huge hassle to actually buy the native token so that you can actually just get access to your money. And with sponsored transactions, we really introduced one of those key innovations where you can then actually have dApps that will make it feeless, right, without any gas fees, to interact with their applications. So I think that's something that's going to be super exciting to improve the user experience of using applications on IOTA. So you can even have like exchanges that make it possible to trade for free, right, without any fees. And I think this will really be one of the major ways in which we can improve the user experience.
Yeah, that's definitely a really nice feature that was just released a few days ago.
Yeah.
And we can recommend everyone to look at this, because there are also like filters, so you can select what exactly you sponsor only and not everything. And then you can make your users do the things they want in a seamless way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it has been very well received on X so far. I've seen a bunch of posts express excitement over that. So definitely a very nifty feature here. So we have Otti IOTA asking about the differences between solutions like Ethereum, Solana. How do they compare to IOTA?
I mean, the most obvious one is that Ethereum is obviously a layer 1 blockchain with the EVM, right? The Ethereum virtual machine. They introduced Solidity, smart contracts. The chain itself is rather limited in terms of like the scalability, right? I think they can do like 20, 30 TPS. It is the network with the most adoption in terms of DeFi and the ecosystem. So I think Ethereum is always still the largest of them all, but I would say technologically, Ethereum is not on par with some of the newer technologies like Sui and obviously what we are now going to introduce with Rebased. And I think that there's two main different streams of thought in the crypto space. One so far has been this entire layer 2 route, right? So effectively, you introduce new layer 2s that take away some of these capacity limit that you have on the layer 1, like Ethereum. So instead of scaling the layer 1 blockchain, you scale the ecosystem through different layer 2 networks that would then actually help you to grow. And this was sort of like the most prominent theory or assumption so far on how to build up the ecosystem, right? And obviously, like Ethereum wrote that to success with Optimism, with Arbitrum, and all these other layer 2s that have launched. But I would also say that in recent months, especially in recent weeks, that entire thesis has really been criticized by many in the space, because many people are realizing that all of these layer 2s, they actually like also, I would say, like parasitic to the layer 1, because they take away liquidity, they take away value that could be captured by Ethereum and Ethereum token, and they directed value to new tokens and to new networks. And so the value isn't being captured by Ethereum itself, but the value is being captured by these layer 2s. I think that's really one of the main reasons why the Ethereum community really had like an outcry over the last couple of weeks, and where they've really gone against the Ethereum Foundation and have actually proposed some drastic changes to the technical roadmap. So we'll see how that will move forward and how that is going to evolve. And obviously on the other side, you have Solana, which is really being proposed as this monolithic change, right? Where you have this really fat pipe, effectively, right? A network that is not going to be secured by thousands or tens of thousands of validators, but a network that's going to be secured maybe by hundreds of validators, right? Really high performance nodes that are maximally specced out, that can only run in the data center, that you can't run locally on your computer, and that these high performance nodes in turn secure the network and in turn actually guarantee higher throughput. And so I think this is why Solana has been a lot more successful, especially in the last cycle, because they were able to capture a lot of the value on their layer 1, and they were also able to position themselves as the ones that will go towards mainstream adoption, right? And I think you also see a different school of thought between Ethereum and Solana, where Ethereum was about decentralization above anything, right? It was really more idealistic, and also I would say more, driven by ideals largely. And on the other side, you have something like Solana, which is really like a Silicon Valley company that was focused on being much more pragmatic and much more focused on what do we actually need to get this adopted by mainstream, right, by retail users. And so that's why Solana has been able to capture so much value, because they've really done an excellent job in focusing on user experience, focusing on mobile, and even cutting some corners in that regard, right? Like not actually not aiming for maximal decentralization, but really aiming for, I would say, just the right decentralization that actually makes sense. And that in turn really meant that Solana had all of these big success stories over the last cycle. Obviously, meme coins is one of those that really captured a lot of mindshare within retail investors. But there's also really amazing applications on Solana, like Jupiter, which is a really great trading experience. And their mobile wallet Phantom is really amazing. So I would say those are really two very opposing school of thoughts, and very two opposing ways to actually build distributed ledgers. And in my opinion, there's no clear winner yet, right? Because again, the market is evolving rapidly, and things can change all the time, right? And so us with IOTA, what we're focused on is more towards what Solana is doing, but by really also retaining our values, by retaining the values that we've built over the last few years, which is to focus on real world adoption, and which is to have this community-centric approach, and which is really to make sure that what we are doing gets adopted in the real world, right? So what we're building with IOTA, or what we have built with IOTA, is also like one singular network. We don't believe in this layer 2 thesis like we see with Ethereum. We really want to build one network and really invest all of our R&D resources to make sure that this one network is actually scalable, right, and can reach mainstream adoption, and that all of the value is being captured by the IOTA network and by the IOTA token, and not by other networks that are adjacent to IOTA or that are on the layer 2. So it's really about pushing forward IOTA. Obviously, the other thing that is different, Ethereum has the EVM, Solana has the Solana virtual machine, which I think is sort of like based on Rust. And we use the Move VM, which is similar to Sui and similar to Aptos. Also, we use the Sui flavor of it. And with that, we also think that we can build some really amazing new applications. So what I really expect us to do over the next 6 to 12 months is to really follow a similar path to Solana, where it is about focusing on user experience, where it is about optimizing for the end user and not optimizing for DeFi Web3 related users. Because I honestly think it is also something that CZ said the other day, is like, DeFi is fucking complicated, right? And unless you're somebody who's really deep in the trenches, you don't actually know how to use these applications, right? Like, you going into a liquidity pool and learning about impermanent loss and all that. So that's really like a huge pain. And so what I think we need to focus on in IOTA and in the ecosystem is really innovate by making it very seamless to be on chain, right? Using chain abstraction, using digital identities, using what Thoralf said before with the IOTA name service, so you don't have these complicated addresses, focusing on a mobile first experience and really taking away all of these friction points so that the onboarding and the utility of being part of IOTA really becomes one of the most seamless user experiences. And that's what I'm really excited for over the next few months. So I would say that we take a similar path between both. We learned from both Ethereum and from Solana. And obviously now we're focused on going our own way with Rebase going live.
Yeah, thanks for that. And we are coming to the last question, also from Otti IOTA. That is, can you provide concrete examples of where IOTA smart contracts are already being used in the industry? And are there any plans for major partnerships?
I mean, major partnerships is always the main thing that we are always working on. And one example where it's being used in the industry is with Twin, right? So our train logistics network. So Twin was founded in 2018, where we work today in Kenya, and we're also doing some really great work in UK and other countries, where it's about providing transparent supply chains. And what we're doing there is every consignment, right? Like every good in the supply chain or every container in the supply chain that is being transported is actually an NFT on the blockchain, right? On the IOTA blockchain. And this NFT is then actually like represents the container itself. And then you can actually attach a digital identity to it. You can attach documents to that token, to the NFT. And then with that, you can then really have the entire chain of custody of the good fully transparent and fully trustworthy, so to say, right? Because it's immutable on a blockchain. And now with that, you can then really automate all of the processes around customs declarations and approving goods along the supply chain. And then really exciting as a next step, you can do things like trade finance, right? You can actually use this NFT, this token, as collateral in a DeFi protocol to take out a loan. So this is really something that's really exciting that we're working on right now, to actually build up this trade finance ecosystem on top of IOTA, so that you can actually fund these farmers or these traders and give them a loan and take the good as collateral. So that's one area where smart contracts are being used already. The other area where it's really exciting is around tokenization, right? So this is something that was built by Realize, where they're tokenizing funds, right? So investment funds. And the main innovation there is that instead of having a share registry, and the share registry is like with digital certificates or with or even with like physical certificates, the certificate itself is actually the token. So the token itself represents the ownership in the fund. And then with that token, you can actually like earn dividend distributions, and you can also use that token as collateral in other DeFi applications, right? So you can take out the loan against it. So I think that's really a very exciting area where smart contracts makes a lot of sense. And another area where I'm really excited about to see that being built on our new network is actually sort of like an on-chain order book exchange. So imagine today you have a centralized exchange like Binance or OKX, who everything runs off-chain, but it is sort of opaque and intransparent on how they operate and also how the collateral allocations work and stuff like that. And so building a exchange fully on-chain means that it is fully transparent, it is fully non-custodial, right? So the exchange itself doesn't actually own the assets of the users. And it is fully transparent, right? With liquidations, with trading, and trading positions. As I think an on-chain order book exchange on the IOTA network with what we are going to be capable of technologically, I think that's going to be really exciting to see that come to life. And so this is really an area where I think we are also focusing on a lot more. I don't know, Thoralf, do you have any smart contract applications that you really like?
I mean, around identity and account abstraction, that's definitely nice. And also what we want to do more, but it's not live yet. But
yeah,
otherwise, like there are also like price oracles deployed then, so you can get the current price of something from a decentralized exchange or somewhere, so you can use it in your own applications to know the price of something. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's really about building this on-chain economy.
Sorry, didn't want to cut you off there. Yeah, sounds pretty exciting indeed. So thanks a lot, IOTA, for your questions. There is also a question from Lesh, and that is about the next major milestones after Rebase. When can we expect them, and what are they?
I mean, I wouldn't say we will do so many big updates in the future, because that was also like an issue in the past, because if you do so big breaking changes and some applications get broken and so on. And now what we want to do is many small updates. So we already are on protocol version 6, I think, like working on this. And we will just do many small features, and they will over time make a big difference.
I think one of the major innovations is actually related to the consensus, right? And the decentralization and sort of stability of the network. So this is something that our team has really been focused on over the last couple of months to improve the architecture that we have right now. So I think we have some very exciting new white paper and research to publish there. And then I would say that that's going to be one of the major upgrades that we're going to push out as well. But we'll share more information on what that entails and the improvements that we've made to Mr. SETI with the community very soon.
Awesome. Yeah, moving on with the questions from Lesh Zero. And the next one is, how does IOTA plan to balance decentralization, scalability, and security in the long run?
I mean, the thing Dom mentioned just before is related to this, because this will improve the decentralization and scalability and security of the network. Because currently, like if you have a few validators in the active validator sets that are not that stable, then this can cause issues. And yeah, the hardware requirements are also a bit higher. But with the updates, you will be we can have more validators without making it so much slower or causing troubles. So I think, yeah, the new updates will make this more stable and decentralized over the long term.
I mean, yeah, it's always a balancing act, right? So there's definitely some work that can be done on both, but I would say when decentralization is very clear, the path that we're taking there with around 100 validators, at launch it will be around 50, but then we're also going to progressively increase that to around 100, 120. And then I would say the main thing that we should focus on is really scalability, because that's one of the main areas where we can really do a lot. So that applications like on-chain order book exchanges or Twin and things like that can really run fully on-chain.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We are moving to the next question, and that is, will IOTA Rebase introduce new economic models such as staking or governance tokens to incentivize network participation?
I mean, staking is really critical, right? And that's really one of the main promises of the new network, that we finally have staking with our IOTA tokens, right? And so with staking, we have this economic security, which is really important to attract new applications, new tokenized assets, new institutional investors to actually participate in the network. Right, so I think this is why we really focus on rewarding the staking as well with staking rewards, right? So you can earn like 10-15% APY staking on IOTA. We will also introduce an LST, like liquid staking token, that will actually make sure that people stake and are able to participate in the ecosystem. And then I think all of the other new economic models, as Thoralf mentioned before, is like around the fee model, how we can make like a local fee market instead of a global one. So not the entire network is being affected by sudden bursts of activity, but only a particular smart contracts. And then otherwise, what we're also doing is obviously we're doing fee burning, so that the fees in the network are actually being burned. So I would say that when it comes to economic models, it's important to keep it simple. And I would say the new tokenomics for IOTA are really nice and they're really simple.
Awesome. Yeah, the next question is probably going to be a little bit more on the tech side, and that is what challenges still need to be overcome before IOTA Rebase can fully replace the old network?
I mean, technologically speaking, there isn't really much left anymore. We had some things found in the audit and are fixing these. And then most of the work we are doing right now is already for after the mainnet launch. So we are currently more waiting on partners like exchanges, so they have the integration ready, and we can launch the network with exchanges ready and not wait.
All right, then last question. That is there a long-term vision for IOTA beyond Rebase, and what could the next big innovation look like?
I mean, the long-term vision of what we're doing is really that IOTA becomes this digital infrastructure and is being adopted in the real world at massive scale. Right? And in order to actually reach that massive scale, we need to make sure that the ledger itself is capable of sustaining that load, right? It's actually able to host that load. So I think our next major innovation on the long term would definitely be everything around scaling the network, right? Like whether it's related to sharding, other works that we can do so that we can really scale horizontally with millions of transactions per second. And but obviously, like this is further research work. But what's more imminently, we're obviously making some major improvements to Rebase, to the current protocol, as I mentioned before, with the new consensus changes that we're going to actually share with the community relatively soon, right, in a new white paper. So I think though there's already a lot happening and of things that we're doing to improve the network.
Yeah, thanks, Lesh. I see there are more questions coming up. We'll get to them as well. We have Digital Dualist asking which dApps will be there from the start of Rebase.
Yeah, so there's still a lot being worked on behind the scenes, right? And our team is working on this every day and getting more new applications on the network. But our main focus at the start is going to be everything around staking. So the LST will be live for mainnet as well, or shortly thereafter, right? Like maybe a couple of days after. Obviously, the oracles will be live. All the infrastructure providers will also be live. We're also working to get the DEX live and the token launchpad. Other main innovations that we're working on is a CDP, right, an IOTA-backed stablecoin, lending market, and then obviously very importantly a bridging solution where we are working on finding the best approach right now. And otherwise, we'll also have some fun games that will be available at launch. And otherwise, I think it's really up to the ecosystem as well to build it. We have a really nice initiative launching soon where we will actually reward new builders on the network. And if any of you are actually interested in building on the new network, please just apply to our grants program as well, because we're very happy to hear from you and also obviously very happy to support you financially. But by and large, I think we have all the major building blocks ready for the mainnet launch.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for that, Dom. Let's move on to a question about ecosystem and adoption. Here we are again with Lesz's question, and that is, how will the integration of the Move virtual machine impact IOTA's adoption among developers and enterprises?
We should give like a special NFT to Lesh0. He asked a lot of good questions. How will the integration of Move virtual machine impact IOTA's adoption among developers and enterprise? And I would say that it will be a lot more. First of all, it's going to be a little bit more challenging in the beginning because obviously EVM is a lot more mature, right? And there's all the integrations that are there, and it's a lot easier to integrate an EVM ecosystem today than it is to integrate a Move ecosystem, right? Simply because, yeah, it's just the boilerplate effectively because EVM has been around for so much longer. But what I can definitely tell everybody is like all these new, and these are like really big partners that we're working with, whether it's enterprises, but also like established large crypto projects. They're all super excited about Move, right? And many of them have actually been saying, "Oh, we've always wanted to build something in Move." And so with that, it actually became a very effective tool for us to onboard new builders into our ecosystem. And I think for IOTA, for our positioning, it makes a lot more sense to be the third Move layer one next to Sui, next to Aptos. And I think actually Super is also a layer one, right? So one of the first four Move layer ones versus us being one of a few hundred EVM chains. And so I really think that we'll see a lot more unique applications now being built on our Move network compared to what we had before, because before it was really about forks of protocol and it was nice, but I think it wasn't really exciting. But I think now we can really build a very exciting ecosystem. And then once we have chain abstraction, once we have IOTA name services, once we have IOTA identity, all those different tools being offered by the foundation, right? Like the gas station and stuff like that, then I think it will get really exciting.
Yeah, thanks for that answer. And Thoralf has just adopted a new profile picture. Seems like this account is going to stay after all. Yeah, Lesh with another great question. And this one is, are there any partnerships or collaborations in the pipeline that will leverage IOTA rebased for much more real-world applications? And he is wishing for no NDAs to appear in that answer.
I mean, this is also the whole premise behind Rebase, that it'll make our adoption efforts a lot easier and a lot faster because now we finally have smart contracts on the network, and now we finally have a production-ready ledger, right? So the obvious answer to that is yes. And I think the two concrete examples that I can give that will be going live on the IOTA Rebase network are Twin, right? If you go to twin.org, you can see really the project and what it's all about, and where we're really building transparent supply chains with some really amazing partners around the world, right? And this is really a project where we can then say that governments will actually end up adopting IOTA in the real world, right? Like what we're doing in Kenya, UK, and a couple more countries. So I think this year I'll be very excited to watch more countries actually adopt IOTA through Twin. And the other project that I can also mention publicly is obviously Realize, where they're working on tokenized funds and asset tokenization on the new network. So they're also already working on integrating the new network, switching everything to Move from EVM, and then we'll move that forward. So obviously a lot more in the pipeline, but we can't talk about those projects yet.
Yeah, cool. Maybe just a recap, because we have been addressing this quite a bit already. Will IOTA introduce an incentive mechanism to attract developers, projects similar to grants or the ecosystem funds?
We have the grants program, right? Where you can apply, you can get up to, I think, 100, 150K in grants. If you want to apply for more, like we're obviously very open to supporting that as well, potentially as an investment as well. So we're also looking at investments into the new ecosystem. But obviously the main channel which will support the ecosystem is through grants. We're also going to launch an RFP program in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to propose to the ecosystem which kind of building blocks, tools, products we would like to see built, and which we would also like support financially. And then the other way in which we'll support builders is through hackathons. So We've been planning for one for the last couple of weeks now, and that will go live very soon, where we then also incentivize builders building on the network through hackathons.
Awesome. Yeah. Another question here for positioning, and that is, how does IOTA Rebase position itself in the growing modular blockchain landscape?
First of all, I would say we're not a modular blockchain, right? Like we don't really advocate for that whole layer 2 kind of positioning. But we really focus on one network and really scaling that one network really well, which is obviously IOTA network. We're one of the first move layer ones, and we're one of the few networks that really did a really great job on real world adoption over the last couple of years. So I think where we want to differentiate ourselves is really with the adoption, the use case that we're going for, and also with the products that are going to be built on top of IOTA. So what was mentioned before already around digital identity, chain abstraction, the gas station to introduce feeless transactions, all of that is really the how we want to move forward so that we can see unique applications on top of IOTA.
Yeah, on the topic of use cases, is there potential for IOTA Rebase to integrate with AI-driven applications or machine economy use cases?
Definitely. I think it's already happening, right? So there's always some AI projects actually working on integrating with Move and with the layer 1. And it's actually kind of funny that everything around AI is now like reviving that whole machine economy narrative. So I think it's quite fitting with IOTA. So I do hope that we'll see some really interesting use cases around AI. And also I think with hackathons we can really support that, like as a dedicated stream. There are some AI related applications. And yeah, so I think this is really something that we should focus on with the new network as well.
Cool. Yeah, the last question from Lesh, this time for sure, is, are there plans to open the Rebase protocol for integration with other blockchain ecosystems to improve interoperability?
For sure. Well, I think there's two ways to do that. Through a bridge, which is something that we're intensively looking at right now. Previously with the EVM, we had layer 0. With Rebase, with the new network, we need to think about which option we have, because layer 0 isn't, they support EVM chains. They don't really support alternative networks yet, right? Other than Solana, I think. And so this is something that we're looking at actively, which bridging solution we'll have. But otherwise, I think chain abstraction is also really a very interesting way in which we can potentially enable this interoperability, like what Near has done with Near Intents. So those are all things, different potential products that we're looking at, but it's all early research and ideation, basically, so nothing really ready yet. But I think the bridging solution is really something that we're much more focused on to get it ready also soon after the mainnet launch.
Awesome. Yeah, that brings us to a question from CypherCat. We've been comparing Rebase to Solana and to Ethereum. This question is about how Rebase is comparing to Sui. What competitive advantages do you bring to the table over the Sui ecosystem as you work to bring in Move developers?
I guess this is about the Sui ecosystem in particular, right? Not about the technology itself. So when it comes to the ecosystem, everything is early stage as well. So I think that also offers builders amazing opportunities to be the first DEX, to be the first lending market, to be the first, I don't know, CDP, stablecoin, to be one of the first games, because being first always pays off in these new networks, right? Because that's where the biggest opportunities are. And so I think that's really one way in which we differentiate ourselves. Obviously, the other way is we have a strong, similar to Sui, we have a strong focus on developer support. So we'll definitely offer that as well, and then really focusing on how we can differentiate and basically innovate also further on their stack that they've built. right? Either on the core protocol itself, right? Improving the consensus, improving decentralization parameters, and improving or changing the tokenomics as well, which is something that we've already done. And then also improving by building up new products and tools for developers. The release of the gas stations is one example. The upcoming release of IOTA identity is going to be another example. So I think there's going to be a lot of really amazing tools and products that we'll build for developers to really differentiate ourselves. I don't know, Thoralf, if you want to mention something here.
Yeah, I think also generally the developer experience we want to improve a lot. Like we create many examples and some documentation around how you set up small projects, because that is not really available that much for Move projects.
Yeah.
So there we already did some things, but we want to do much more.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for your question, CypherCat. We are moving on to IOTA Madness. It's a little bit of a lengthy one. I'll just read it out once. Could you describe and discuss how IOTA compares with SUI and other options in terms of important ecosystem components like KYC and user authentication for non-technical users and those who don't wish to hold the IOTA coin themselves? IOTA gas station and the possibility it enables. So yeah, I guess a little bit of a roundabout in terms of what does the gas station enable and how is that a advantage perhaps compared to SUI?
Thoralf, do you want to take this one or should I?
I mean, yeah, technically you have to think of that SUI has the same smart contract platform thing, so you can run basically the same smart contracts on both networks. But what we did, for example, for the gas station is to add some additional things so you can filter what you sponsor. So the owner of the gas station can select specific smart contract calls that will get sponsored and others not. And this makes it much easier for them to deploy it and don't have to fear that someone will get all the gas and spend it for something else. So around this, we want to make it much easier, so you can have more use cases covered by it and don't have to fear that you lose the money. And regarding KYC, this will also be a thing what we have on the current network, basically just move to the Move network. And for the non-technical users, we are also looking into the zero knowledge login thing. So you can use your normal Google or Facebook or X account or whatever to create an account, a wallet. And then this would also be much more user-friendly.
Sounds pretty good. Yeah, we are taking an interesting pivot in this question here. And IOTA Madness is also interested in how transacting on Rebased compares to PayPal, Venmo, or even credit card transactions. Let's lump Swift in there as well. And then follow up on that is, do other Move-based coins have similar ecosystem infrastructure? I guess we should tackle how transacting on Rebased compares to, well, all of these centralized services. I'm not sure I understand the last part of it correctly. If you guys have an idea, please feel free to.
I mean, like, I don't think you can compare these centralized systems with the decentralized one, right? Because IOTA is effectively like a non-custodial network where you're in control of your keys and in control of your assets, and you can transfer these assets seamlessly around the world. And like, obviously with Rebased, it should confirm in less than a second, then we can do thousands of TPS, right? So I do think it's comparatively, like, technologically, like in terms of confirmation times and stuff like that, is on par with those networks. Obviously, like, the main difference is like the integration that those networks have into like centralized systems and the adoption of them. So I think stablecoin adoption is going to be one of the main things that we really need to focus on with the new network, so that if you have your USDT or USDC or I don't know, some Euro stablecoin, that IOTA is the network of choice on which these stablecoins get can be transacted with, right? So I think this is really like a big area of work that we need to focus on in the future, so that we can actually compare ourselves with PayPal and Venmo. I actually think PayPal has a very nice stablecoin that's I think it's on Solana today. So I think Pi USD it's called. So that's actually one of the stablecoins that we could probably even try and get to build on IOTA in the future, and then we can see how that compares with actually using PayPal.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot for your question, IOTA Madness. If there is more that you want to follow up on, then let us know on Discord. That is, of course, a general invitation for everybody asking questions here. Let's move on to Rock Robin. I was a little bit nervous if I was going to pronounce that right. He is asking, some dApps have locked IOTA in smart contracts, for example, on IOLand. What happens to those IOTA? As I understand, after staking, you would get a liquid stake IOTA that could be used for DeFi, for example. But in the case of already locked IOTA in EVM dApps, how is this handled?
Maybe just one point first, but like the EVM will still continue to exist with the rebased launch. It will anchor into the network, and then you can also transfer tokens between the layer 1 and the layer 2. And the EVM applications that are on there will still continue to operate and exist, right? So all that is fine. I think with tokens that are locked, that is really up to the smart contract, right? So if you can't take them out of the smart contract, then they're effectively there. But if you can withdraw them, you can then take them out and you can put them for use on the layer 1, and then you can use the LST, the liquid staking token, on the layer 2, on the EVM, or also on the layer 1. So
yeah, on EVM it doesn't change.
Yeah.
Awesome. We are moving on to the next question from Rock Robin. That is also, is it possible for nodes to set a commission fee of 100%? This would be useful for those who do not want to stake for tax reasons. Node operators could raise funds similar to an ICO and compensate stakers with tokens at TGE, simplifying the tax process. Even without a tax consideration, collecting funds via a 100% staked reward model might offer investors a better deal with lower risk, since their original investment remains intact.
That's an interesting question. I don't know, Thoralf, do you know the answer if you can actually charge 100% commission?
I think it's limited to a lower value, but I don't know what exactly it is.
Like I would assume it's probably limited to like maybe 20%, but this is something that we should maybe ask Livy and his team. But I mean, it's an interesting question, to be honest, and like interesting workaround to some real world problems. So this is something that maybe we can ask internally. But you have to keep in mind, like if you stake and you give 100% of the tokens to a validator, that means that obviously like you're not actually like you're securing the network, but you're not actually earning staking rewards at all. So I think it's just something to consider.
Yeah, I just checked in the code. It's 20%. That's the max value you can currently set.
Yeah, so it's 20%, not 100%.
All right, all clear on that then. We are taking a question here from our friends at FOMOFox. Lector is asking, how do decentralized exchanges interact with the L1, or will they interact with the L2 or IOTA EVM in this case?
They will interact with the L1. I think this is also something that the entire team was a lot more excited about, because I think now we actually have the exchange integrations, right? And so like it will be very easy and seamless to actually deposit and withdraw funds between exchanges, and then hopefully in the future also tokenize assets like stablecoins and stuff like that. So all the exchanges that we are working with, they are integrating the layer 1.
Yeah, there is another question. I think we partially tackled it already. How fast are these services going to be available once we switch to Move? I guess this is referring to projects that are available right now on the EVM that plan on switching over to rebased, if we have any idea on the timeframes here.
All of them need to be live for the mainnet launch, but like especially exchanges, the major exchanges need to be live, because otherwise we wouldn't actually launch. So that's what really one of the main criteria for us to be able to launch, and that all the exchanges are live.
Awesome. Yeah, last question here from Lector is, will there be some kind of a legacy L1 to transfer from and to centralized exchanges for a time frame of about 3 months?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
Yeah, then the old network or the current one will be stopped, and then the new one will be started, and then you can't do any transfers in the old one anymore, because otherwise you would need to check the ledger state across both networks, which makes no sense.
Yeah, thanks for that. We are going to pick up a question from Denver Coder, and he is asking, with the Microsoft Quantum chip announcement, is IOTA going to lean into that side more to be quantum resistant?
I think in the future, like if there's like some quantum cryptography, I would assume that it would be more straightforward to implement that as well. At one point, especially with the new ledger architecture. But this is not something that we're focused on right now, right? Like quantum computers are probably still like years, if not decades away. So this is not something that we focus on. And if it becomes a problem, we can definitely look at that and then add it to the ledger and then make it possible for people to migrate their funds. But this is not the priority right now.
Yeah, thank you. We have Laszlo Tabor. He is asking, what happened to Rebbe and debunk IOTA EVM support? There are contradicting informations currently out there.
So last I heard is that the team is trying to reach out to them and see how we can support them and understand the issues that they've had and make sure that they obviously continue to provide the support.
Yeah, great. That brings us to T-Dog's question, and that is Kenya still planned for Q1 launch on mainnet? I guess this is in reference to Twin.
I think privately, it's probably going to be more likely Q2, and we're planning an event around that. But the team is working on an internal timeline to get it ready by end of Q1. So I think anything related to publicity and public work will only actually happen then in Q2.
Right. We have this come up quite a bit, but since we are getting to the end of the question catalog, probably a good idea to bring it up once more. What's needed or holding us back to release staking once Rebased is live?
It will launch with it, right? Rebase will go live with staking. So the first thing that everybody should be doing is to stake their IOTA tokens. So I think that's what I will do with the new network and reap all the new staking rewards. So we'll go live with staking.
Yeah, exactly. When it starts, the validators already need to have some staked IOTAs, otherwise they won't be in the community. So right when it starts, you can stake. And the minimum is 1 IOTA.
Awesome. Sounds good. I think everybody is very excited for that. All right. Now we have Sigam Deza Beratoy asking regarding liquid staking. Will we be able to stake and use the tokens in DeFi and simultaneously vote with them? Or do we still have to empty the pools to participate in voting?
There's currently no voting on the layer 1. Right, so I think the whole governance side of things, that's something that we need to think about further down the line, how we will enable that. But the whole idea of the liquid staking token is that you will be able to stake the token, get the LST, and then deploy the LST in DeFi. So yes, all of that will work. But the governance on the new layer 1, and that's something that we're working on separately. It's not on the priority list yet.
All right, great. Yeah, that brings us to the last question that we collected through our Discord server. And that is, when rebased?
When? I think it all looks very good. And I have to say, like, the team has really done an amazing job in getting all of this ready. And we obviously still need to do some final tests, also like implement some of those things from the audit, make sure that all of the exchange partners are ready, make sure that the custody provider is ready. So we're finalizing those things. So I think once it's live, once it's ready, we'll let the community know. But I think what I want to avoid is a scenario where we're going to say, oh, in 4 weeks it's going to go live, or in 2 weeks it's going to go live, right? Like we want to release it when it's ready, and then really also open up this new chapter with IOTA with a lot of excitement, with a lot of hype. So I think those who are following on GitHub and stuff like that will probably see what's happening. But all I can say is like it looks very good, and the team has really done an amazing job in getting this to this stage. So we still have some final things to make sure that they are done, right, with exchanges, with custody providers and other partners. But by and large, we're working to obviously get it ready as soon as possible.
Amazing. Yeah, let me just pick up one more question from the chat here. And yeah, we have somebody asking for when US adoption.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. So we are a big sponsor at an event in Washington, D.C. in March. I'll also be a speaker there, and our team will also be joining us there. And we have some very good discussions right now with some like regulatory firms that are going to help us position us in the US. I think we have a very exciting approach because we're not just like every other layer one that build up their whole ecosystem around DeFi. We built our ecosystem around real-world adoption, and obviously that the US government is very interested in trade and how they can also secure the borders and really make sure that those goods coming into the country are verified and authenticated and so on and so forth. And so I think with Twin, we really have a unique opportunity to position IOTA as a solution to some of these interests that the US has in securing their borders and also making it a lot more efficient and transparent. And so this is really something that we're really excited about looking at, how we can position ourselves in the US. And so I'll be back there latest at the end of March for the conference in Washington. And then we're also obviously in parallel planning our entry into the US. I don't want this to be like what other projects are doing, where they're like kind of desperately trying to get people to take pictures with them and stuff like that. But I really think we need to be strategic about this. And I also think that we have a lot more to offer than other networks. And so it's really about what is the strategy going to look like, which is what we're working on at the moment, so that we can then work on executing that.
Yeah, amazing. We are around right about the 1 hour mark. Yeah, anything else that you want to leave us with, Dom and Thoralf? I think we ran through all of the questions. Yeah, anything on your mind still?
I just saw one more question. It was from Isa Minka. If should I be using Firefly or Bloom, or maybe both? And Firefly will not be updated for rebased, so there will be just a browser wallet, and it also works with the Ledger Nano. And yeah, you can use Bloom then, or use a browser wallet or a wallet from a third-party provider. There will be also other wallets. And yeah, Firefly will discontinue.
Yep.
And yeah, otherwise, no, nothing more from my side. I'm also waiting for Rebased, and I'm excited to build with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like this will be like a new beginning for IOTA, right? And I'm really excited about Rebased and watching it finally come to the mainnet, and also watching what the community will build on top of it. So I think this will really be an amazing reward for all of these years that we've been building and moving things forward. And I also think that the timing with the market will work out. So I'm very hopeful and very excited, very optimistic about what we have in front of us.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a great note to close this AMA with. So thank you all for your participation. Great questions. Thanks really a lot for everybody that has chipped in here. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Thoralf. And yeah, at this spot, I really also need to aggressively shill our Telegram. Drop by there. We have an ambassador program that is running since 2 weeks. If that sounds interesting to you, check it out on Discord. And also an on-chain campaign is currently going, the return of IOTA, where you can explore a little bit in our ecosystem and earn some rewards for doing that. So interesting stuff. There is a lot to look forward to. And yeah, hope I can see you all guys on Discord.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you, Thoralf. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Have a great day.